Between January 1974 and June 1975, 6 men were killed in or near San Francisco's isolated coastal areas. Investigators believe the victims were targeted because they were gay. A surviving man told police that the attacker had introduced himself as a cartoonist and sketched while they spoke, earning the unidentified suspect the name the Doodler. More than 50 years later, no one has been convicted. But in June 2026, police revealed a crucial complication. A man connected to 2 later attacks is alive, yet investigators still cannot prove that he committed the 6 coastal homicides. In the early 1970s, San Francisco was becoming internationally associated with social change, political activism, and an increasingly visible gay community. But visibility did not guarantee safety. Many gay men still face discrimination at work, rejection from relatives, and the risk of being exposed in a society where privacy could determine a person's career and reputation. That environment matters because it shaped both vulnerability and silence. A man meeting someone late at night might hesitate to tell friends where he was going. A surviving victim might fear that cooperating publicly with police could reveal parts of his life he had kept private. And an offender could exploit that isolation. This case is often reduced to a mysterious drawing and an unnamed killer. But the deeper story concerns men who were targeted during a period when reporting violence could carry consequences beyond the crime itself. To understand why the investigation stalled, we must understand the fear surrounding the victims, not only fear of an attacker, but fear of public exposure. The first known victim was Gerald Kavanaugh. On January 24, 1974, his body was discovered near Ulloa Street and the Great Highway, close to Ocean Beach. An unidentified person had alerted police. That call became one of the investigation's earliest surviving clues. Was the caller simply a passerby, someone connected to the victim, or the killer attempting to control when the body would be discovered? No conclusive evidence has established the caller's identity. In 2019, police publicly released audio associated with the report of a body near Ocean Beach, hoping someone might recognize the voice or remember the circumstances. The release came decades after the crime, but it demonstrated that investigators were still reviewing evidence that had once seemed exhausted. The first case contained a location, an anonymous call, and a victim who appeared to have met his attacker shortly before his death. At that stage, detectives could not know that similar cases would soon transform one homicide into a suspected series. Over the following 17 months, more men were found dead in or near Ocean Beach, Golden Gate Park, and other isolated areas along San Francisco's western edge. The 6 victims now identified by police are Gerald Kavanaugh, Joseph J. Stevens, Claus Christman, Frederick Capin, Harold Goldberg, and Warren Andrews. The geography was difficult to ignore. Ocean Beach stretches beside the Pacific, bordered by roads, dunes, and places that could become isolated after dark. Golden Gate Park offered wooded areas and limited visibility. Land's End contained cliffs, pathways, and coastal terrain. According to investigators, the victims appeared to have encountered the suspect shortly before they were attacked. That suggested a killer who could establish trust quickly. The answer to how trust was established so quickly may have emerged from someone who survived. He described meeting a man who claimed to be a cartoonist. While the two spoke in a late-night diner, the stranger reportedly doodled. The small act may have appeared harmless, creative, conversational, and memorable. It also gave investigators the name by which the unknown offender would become known. The nickname can make the case sound theatrical, but investigators did not believe the drawing itself was necessarily the purpose. It may have been a method of beginning a conversation, A person who offers to sketch someone creates a reason to sit nearby, observe them, and continue talking. According to investigators, at least one survivor said the suspect identified himself as a cartoonist. The available police summaries do not establish that every victim was drawn or that every encounter began in exactly the same way. That distinction matters. The public legend describes a murderer sketching each victim before attacking. The confirmed evidence is narrower. A survivor recalled a man doodling during one encounter, and police used that detail when naming the suspect. The difference between evidence and mythology would become increasingly important as newspaper reports, television programs, and later, internet discussions expanded the story. The drawing was real as an investigative clue. Its role in every homicide remains unproved. Survivor information allowed police to produce a forensic sketch in 1975. The image showed a young black man wearing a knit cap. Decades later, a forensic artist created an age-progressed version showing how the same person might appear as an older adult. Police released both images publicly. The sketches were never proof of identity. They were visual interpretations based on witness memory, intended to generate recognition and new information. A sketch can focus an investigation. It can also create tunnel vision. Investigators needed more than a resemblance. They needed physical evidence, reliable identification, or a confession supported by facts. For many years, the Doodler series was generally described as involving 5 homicide victims. That changed after investigators reconsidered the death of Warren Andrews. On April 27, 1975, Andrews was found unconscious after an assault at Land's End. He never regained consciousness and died approximately 7 weeks later. Modern investigators now believe he may have been the 6th victim connected to the same offender. The addition altered the timeline and demonstrated how cold cases can change without a new arrest. A homicide series is not a fixed story. Old medical records can be reconsidered, locations can be compared again, witness statements can be re-evaluated, and a death previously treated as separate may become part of a broader pattern. In July 1975, 2 men were violently attacked in separate incidents at the Fox Plaza apartments. The attacks occurred within 2 weeks of each other. Both victims reportedly lived on the same floor but did not know one another. Early investigators believed those attacks were linked to the coastal homicides. Because the men survived, their accounts offered something the murder cases could not: descriptions of the attacker and the events surrounding the assaults. The Fox Plaza survivors became central to the case's mythology. Later accounts claimed that several survivors refused to testify because they feared being publicly identified as gay. The most responsible version is more cautious. Contemporary social stigma may have made cooperation difficult, and police historically struggled to secure enough admissible evidence for prosecution. For decades, the Fox Plaza attacks were treated as one of the strongest bridges between the unidentified doodler and a specific person of interest. Then came the 2026 update, and that bridge became much less certain. Police detained a suspect in 1976. He was questioned but never charged. The absence of charges meant investigators had not assembled evidence sufficient to prosecute him. No court established that he was the killer. For years, reports suggested that police strongly suspected one individual but lacked willing testimony and physical proof. It is essential not to identify or portray an uncharged person as guilty. Suspicion is not a conviction. A person may fit portions of a witness description while having no connection to other crimes, and evidence considered persuasive in private may still fail the legal standards required in court. In June 2026, San Francisco police issued a renewed public appeal containing one of the most important clarifications in the case's modern history. Cold case investigators said they had identified a person connected to the 2 Fox Plaza attacks. That individual is alive and lives in the San Francisco Bay Area. But investigators said they cannot presently connect those attacks conclusively to the 6 coastal homicides. If the Fox Plaza attacker and the coastal murderer were different people, then a major part of the traditional Doodler narrative may have combined separate crimes. The forensic sketch may have originated through survivors of attacks that police can no longer conclusively link to the 6 deaths. The honest conclusion is not that the old theory was completely wrong, it is that the evidence is no longer strong enough for police to present the link as established. The 2026 appeal also introduced another investigative lead. Authorities said they have information suggesting that the homicide suspect may have traveled by car from the Bay Area through the southeastern United States. Without additional disclosure, it remains an investigative lead, not proof that the killer committed crimes elsewhere. If the offender left California, distance may explain why the apparent series stopped. But he could also have died, been imprisoned for an unrelated offense, changed his behavior, or some crimes attributed to one offender may have involved different attackers. Modern audiences often assume that old crimes can be solved automatically through deoxyribonucleic acid analysis. But forensic genealogy requires usable biological material, a reliable chain of custody, and a sample that can legally and scientifically be compared. Crime scenes near beaches and parks are exposed to weather, moisture, contamination, and time. Evidence collection practices in the 1970s were not designed for technologies that would emerge decades later. Police state that advances in forensic technology continue to provide new opportunities, but they have not announced a deoxyribonucleic acid identification in the Doodler homicides. Forensic science can create a breakthrough. It cannot create evidence that was never collected or preserved. A cold case may contain thousands of pages and still lack the one biological sample needed to identify an offender. The investigation remains active. San Francisco police are offering a reward of $250,000 for information leading to the identification of the person or people responsible for the 6 homicides. The department continues asking the public for information about the victims' final encounters, the unidentified suspect, and anyone who may have traveled from the Bay Area through the southeastern United States during the relevant period. Time destroys memories, but time can also change loyalties. Someone who remained silent in 1975 may no longer feel compelled to protect another person. A relative may recognize a story. An old photograph may reveal a connection. Cold cases are often solved not because one dramatic piece of evidence appears, but because an overlooked fact is finally given to the right investigator. The 6 men at the center of this case deserve that outcome. Gerald Kavanaugh, Joseph J. Stevens, Klaus Christman, Frederick Kapin, Harold Goldberg, and Warren Andrews were not characters in a mystery created for entertainment. They were people whose deaths remained unresolved while social prejudice shaped how violence against gay men was discussed, investigated, and remembered. More than 50 years have passed. The sketch has aged. The city has changed. But somewhere in the surviving evidence, memories and private histories of those years may still be the fact that gives these victims their names, back from the shadow of a killer's nickname.